sports world changed this morning.
Yep.
Out of nowhere, on this particular Tuesday, the New York Jets and Woody Johnson have fired Coach Robert Saleh. This news obviously drops from an Adam Schefter text or tweet at 10:08 Eastern, and everybody on earth is wondering to themselves, how the hell did we get here so fast? We're just 5 weeks into the season. The Jets obviously, before the season, had high hopes, high expectations. Aaron Rodgers was back. The defense, which under Saleh had been damn good throughout the entirety of his coaching stint for the New York Jets, was going to be great, and then the offense is going to be able to match it. We're going to go win a Super Bowl. We're going to invest. We're going to do this thing. Here we are 5 weeks in, and there's disappointment, not just in America, but also in London. That trip back from London town. Was Woody Johnson so fed up with everything he was seeing on the sideline? Was Woody Johnson sick of seeing everything that he saw in the news and in the newspaper about his team not living up to expectations, not living up to hope? So he felt obligated to do something? We don't know. But what we do know is that defense coordinator, Coach Ulbrich, is now the interim head coach, and Coach Saleh is no longer a coach in the NFL. Now, to Coach Saleh, we will say this. That's a tough market over there.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some tough players playing very important positions for you. The team hasn't looked great. You know, Fireman Ed at one point even thought about maybe not being Fireman Ed for the Jets anymore, even though he runs into fires instead of away from fires. Even he couldn't deal with the shit of the New York Jets anymore. And Jets fans have obviously always seemingly been cursed, is what they would say. But this guy, whenever he left the San Francisco 49ers as defense coordinator, was going to be the guy that was going to change it for the New York Jets. Because the amount of moxie, energy, passion, respect from the coaches and respect from the players that he had. It was going to be different when Robert Saleh got in there, and they just didn't win.
Nope.
You know, they just continue to not win. Aaron comes back. They got a slow start. Last year, he only got to play 4 offensive plays for them. Achilles tear. That was probably Bob Saleh's best coaching job, was after that, being able to step up into a microphone every single week and say, we're trying this, we're trying that. When really what he wanted to say was, we're punting on the year, okay? Mm-hmm. We plan on a quarterback coming in here and changing everything, and instead he gets hurt 4 plays into what he wants for me. We're punting on the year, we're going to run it back next year. Well, they are trying to run it back this year. He will not be running it back anymore. Fired through 5 weeks of the NFL season. Now, a lot of people are going to say that Aaron Rodgers was the one that got him fired.
Whoa.
Aaron Rodgers did a power play here. A lot of people have been trying to drive a wedge between Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh literally since the day that Aaron Rodgers went to the New York Jets with Robert Saleh. Aaron Rodgers has told us on this particular program, he has told the public numerous occasions, he likes Coach Robert Saleh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, the hug situation that happened on the field obviously was something, but if you watch the one Jets drive about 8 days after that, there was actually a hug on a tunnel after that game immediately. They could have released that.
Yeah.
Could have released that in the morning and said, hey, the hug thing, kind of null and void. We got a hug later. But I think Aaron has been very open in public about liking Robert Saleh. So for him, I'll be excited to hear his take tomorrow, 12:10 Eastern. Aaron Rodgers will be joining us to chit-chat about everything happening with the New York Jets. Coach Saleh himself going forward, his answer is going to be there's a lot of football left. A lot of things can still happen, which I assume is the message that everybody's still delivering in the Jets building today, which is why I assume everybody is a little gobsmacked by the news in the building. Now, they play on Monday Night Football, okay? So in NFL buildings, whenever you're playing on a different day, they change the schedule up, basically. So for the rest of the world right now, it's Tuesday. In the New York Jets football operation, it is Monday because there is 1 week until the next game, or 6 days until the next game, which is Monday night. So tomorrow will be the off day. Today was scheduled to be in the afternoon work like a scheduled Monday is in a football building. Then this firing happens, and then boom, schedule goes crazy. And then it's like, hey, tomorrow, probably much smarter and much better and much more couth for the entire situation, especially for a coach that he has a lot of respect for. So we will see Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. Everybody's going to have takes on this in the sports world. Everybody in New York is going to have takes on this. And now all eyes are on this team going forward. Was it Coach Saleh's fault? Okay. Was it the offense's fault? What do they do with the rest of the season? With Coach Ulbrich taking over, who we saw in Hard Knocks has the respect of the team. Fascinating times for the New York Jets, but this is the NFL. Bryce Young got benched after week 2 of the NFL season. He said it felt like the season's slipping away. Here we are after week 5, New York Jets going, this is not what we thought this year was going to be. We're losing in England. We're losing at home. But we got no hope, and we're the laughingstock of everybody. So Woody Johnson makes the call to fire the head coach. Football is insane. It always will be. The Talks at Table is here at Boston Connor, and Bruce Brown still filling in for Ty Schmidt. Conman, you know it. The Jets always make good decisions, and this seemingly is one that has nobody talking.
Yeah, very early on for the Jets to jet this hard, but this is what the Jets do. I mean, we kind of, I usually go back to at some point throughout the season, it'll happen. Didn't expect it to be after week 5. You would have thought maybe like, hey, they lose to the Broncos in a very disgusting game. That would make more sense. Like, they almost beat the Vikings, and the Vikings, as we all know, are very good now. They're 5-0.
Game-winning drive.
Yeah, they're
going down in England, international game, early morning, 9:30 kickoff. You wake up, there's football. How's the beginning of it? Not great for the Jets.
No.
Jets come back. All of a sudden, we got a thriller in England to kick off the international series this play. You're 2 plays away, potentially, from beating the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, but instead now, long flight back, Tuesday, you're fired.
Yeah, crazy.
Wild time.
And you just said it, too. Like, they came back. Like, it's not as if they got blown out, where they could have. Like, there was a time in that game where I felt like it could have gone very south for the Jets and it could have got ugly, but it didn't. I feel like, isn't that kind of a reflection of coaching when your team can go one way? Yeah, like, look at this. It's 17-0, and they still make a game out of it. I mean, from here on out, it's 17-6 Jets, because it ended up being 23-17. Like, it wasn't that bad of a performance. I'm blown away by the fact that it's happening now. I'm not blown away because it is the New York Jets, and this is what happens to them every single year.
I assume there's going to be some sort of team meeting today and everything that takes place. Woody will probably speak to the team at that point, introduce Ulbrich. Ulbrich will lay out his thoughts, his mindset. Ulbrich hired by Saleh, though, right?
Yeah.
So you got a lot of – we were joined by a 9-year NFL vet. Looks cool, not as cool as he did yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, Darius J. Butler is here. D-Butch, coach fire midseason. Obviously, we've covered it over the last few years here during the Daily Show existence of our life here. Normally gets a good bump. Normally, after a head coach is fired, normally there's a sense of like, okay, we got to re-earn it, reprove it. There's a little freshness in the air, a little bit more motivation. Feels interesting. Everything is not like that for the Jets right now, how we all feel. Just kind of feels like it's an ugly situation altogether. What do you make of it, and how do you think players in locker room are kind of viewing it?
I'm on the same page with Connor. Absolutely confused. You mentioned it yesterday, all the 2 and 3 teams, kind of still out there. I feel like most of the league is kind of in that ballpark. So it's weird that it happened. If you're going to make this decision, I feel like you already came into this season, if you're Woody Johnson, like, hey, I'm just looking for a reason. If that was the case, just do it in the offseason so that you come in with a fresh start as far as the head coach goes. And you mentioned the defense has been good. So to be 2 and 3 coming off a game like that and for him to get fired, I'm absolutely shocked that it went this way. Even when Tom went to Tampa, like, it wasn't just smooth out of the gate. And this is pretty much Aaron Rodgers' first real season actually playing and gelling with the guys, a lot of new pieces on offense. It took them, I think, until after like a late bye week to really get rolling into the playoffs. So you would expect to have more patience from the owner. Just surprised. But to Conman's point, the Jets are going to Jets at some point, and week 5 just happened to be the time this year.
You were talking about Tom Brady and Bruce Arians getting on the same page like week 11 whenever they had a bye week, and that's whenever the offense really started going afterwards, and they go on the miraculous run to go win the Super Bowl or whatever it is. This is the first time that Saleh and Aaron have gone week to week through a football season, So that's why people are like, oh, Aaron hates Saleh, Saleh hates Aaron, because their answer, it's like, no, like, Aaron's super competitive dude, has been doing it a long time. Saleh has a operation how he runs it. This is their first time kind of experiencing it. There might be some disagreements. Like, that is legitimately how high-profile stuff happens, and this is not us speaking as a source conversation. We're just speaking from outside looking in. It's like, Aaron has never told us that he hates Saleh. Like, no. That is, and that's seemingly the reaction on the internet today is, Aaron goes into Woody's office and says, I'm not doing it anymore. Okay, I flew back from London just like you did. It was a long, miserable flight. I'm done with it. I'm not doing it the rest of the year. That's seemingly what everybody on the internet is thinking. And I assume that is also what a lot of masses are thinking. I'm not 100% sure that's the case. Would Aaron want an interim head coach?
Yeah, what sense does that make?
Has an interim head coach ever went on to win? I don't.
What is the positive if you're Woody Johnson for this at all?
So some Jets fans are happy, I think.
Yeah, the Jets fans are definitely happy. I've seen a lot of happy Jets fans out there because they don't trust Saleh. But do the Jets fans and Woody think that Ulbrich is going to be able to motivate the boys better than Saleh did? Like, that's why he made this move? Like, because that's the only reason in my head that it makes sense.
Okay, so talking about motivating the boys, there's a fascinating stat that Hembo sent through. During Saleh's tenure, the Jets were outscored by 200. I think it's the next one, Foxy. Boom. The Jets were outscored by 267 points in the first half.
Jeez.
Which is the worst in the NFL. The Jets were, which motivate, you talk about motivating team, it's like slow start after slow start after slow start, like to a historic fashion.
True.
Slow start in this entire. Boys aren't ready is the natural reaction to that particular stat. And I think a lot of Jets fans experience the beginning of games being a nightmare. And it's like, yeah, they're outscored by 267 points in the first half over his tenure, which is obviously not great. Coach Saleh was 20-36 as a head coach for the Jets, which is the worst record in the history of New York Jets football. They've had a lot of losing seasons. A lot of losing seasons. During Saleh's tenure, the Jets were outscored. Yep, you got it. During Saleh's tenure, the Jets had 60 more penalties than their opponents did, the worst margin in the NFL. So if you go by how a team starts a game, coach supposed to have them ready, and then how disciplined team is, coach supposed to have them disciplined. I guess those two stats would be why Jets fans were like, let's move along.
Finally.
Season slipping away. But I think what a lot of us would say, like in the building, it's like, those are all the same guys, you know, that are kind of in there. But maybe Ulbrich will run a different ship. Maybe there'll be a little bit more power given to certain people instead of what was happening before. Maybe the message just wasn't hitting home anymore from Coach Saleh, so a new person delivering whatever message will be great. But it's like, do they have it in there? Allegedly, Jay Glazer talked to Robert Saleh after the firing, and Coach Saleh was blindsided by it. Certainly disappointed, but he wasn't going to be given the opportunity to get things going with what he said is a very good roster. So Coach Saleh still thinks, you know, that what they had in the locker room was good. He thought he was going to maybe be given the opportunity to turn it around. That's what Jay Glazer is reporting. He is not. He's been canned. He's been fired. He's been released. They've decided to go their separate ways.
He's going on vacation.
Normally that is how he's going on vacation, is what was reported by Mike Silver, I believe. He's going on vacation. Don't look for him to coach this year. Like the Indianapolis coach, you guys want to do DC? Okay, cool. Probably going on vacation with his family right now.
Yeah.
See you next year. Hey, San Francisco 49ers, you're thinking maybe we bring back Coach Saleh and we just do the whole thing? He's going on vacation right now. Okay, he's got a lot to think about, and he's got a guaranteed contract still. So there's a lot of that type of stuff happening. But whenever you have an organization that has had this much shit, you have to start thinking to yourself, how's this go? And I know this is the first time in 25 years that Woody Johnson as an owner has fired a head coach in the middle of the season. Wow. And I guess it's the first time since 1976, if you read those Hembo stats, that a coaching change has been made in the middle of the season. And it was when Lou Holtz just resigned in the middle of the season. Just said, all right, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be doing that. So this is maybe them rattling the cage, doing something differently? Or is this them potentially acknowledging to themselves that they don't get a lot right? You know, and let's try to do something different. I don't know what the outcome is. I have no idea what comes from any of this. I'm excited to talk to Aaron tomorrow, but boy, the streets are talking about the old Jets moving on from a head coach.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to, no matter what. Like, the people who think that Aaron did this, you know, they're going to continue to think that no matter what. But, like, based on what he's depicted to us, obviously they had a good relationship. Is there a sense in the building, you two obviously know this better than any of us, like, when a coach does get fired, do guys feel and, like, take that personally as if they let that guy down? Like, is that also a bump from players? Because we talk about the new coach bump, got to prove it to the new guy, but is there also like a personal, like, hey, we all have to be better for both the new guy and because we just let this guy down?
I mean, I feel like as players, especially as vets, the good players and good teams, I feel like you always look yourself in the mirror first. Like, hey, what could I have done better, especially as a leader, a captain, and things like that. I've never personally been on a team that had a coach fired mid-season. My last season with Chuck, which was Chuck's last season in Indy, kind of towards the end, you kind of knew it was most likely. We had a good relationship where you knew it was probably going to be the end. So you do feel like you do take some ownership and some responsibility, especially if you like the guy. If you don't like the guy, if you're not like, if he doesn't, you know, if you came into the season like, why is this guy still the head coach? Maybe it's a completely different feeling. Now you have Coach Ulbrich, and you're like, hey, it may be some new life kind of infused. But it's just weird from the ownership standpoint. If you're going to make that call, once again, I just go back to Make the call before the season. Give the head coach a real opportunity to instill some culture, his culture, to have that voice, because now you have a new voice leading the team who a lot of these guys probably never heard run a meeting. A lot of the offensive guys probably haven't heard them run meetings. I've heard nothing but great things about them, but taking on that head coaching role is a completely different ball game. But I've never personally been on a team that had a coach fired mid-season. Have you?
No. Me neither. Yeah. As you were giving that answer, I was trying to figure it out. Chuck leaving in his first year because he had leukemia. And then Bruce Arians being the head coach, acting head coach, while Chuck defeats leukemia and then comes back at the end of the year, which is crazy to think about happening during one NFL season, his first year as a head coach. We had an early bye, so he got some spots checked out because Miss Tina forced him into it. He had leukemia. We came back from the bye, and there was all hands on deck team meeting, which very rarely happens. You know, like everybody, trainers are in here, equipment managers are in here, everybody, all hands on deck. And it didn't start on time. So that was obviously a little bit of a, okay, what's going on? Then doctors walked in, you know, and kind of gave the prognosis. Irsay was in there, I believe. And like Bruce Arians then was told, like, hey, he's going to be the acting head coach here. And then he talked about leaving the light on. So that was literally a moment of like playing for Chuck. Like that was like a playing for Chuck moment. A coach being fired, I don't know if you do a play for. Like I don't know. I legitimately, but if you're in the Jets organization, I think you're used to chaos.
For sure.
You know, that you're used to
especially the last few years.
Shit just happening seemingly and never ending. All right, well, let's certainly dive back into that conversation. We're going to get a chance to chat with Aaron Rodgers tomorrow, 12:10 Eastern. I'm excited to hear his take on it. I respect the hell out of the decision to, you know, not come on and talk about it today. Just out of respect for the whole situation. I would like to learn more and see how this all is. But tomorrow, like, he'll have some thoughts, you know.
No doubt.
I'll be excited to hear it. And his thoughts will shape what the mindset's going to be for the rest of the season for Jets fans who are probably pretty pumped. Some of them pumped about change and maybe not looking the same way we've looked and moving on to a different era here. And then some Jets fans are like, here we go again. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say tomorrow. That'll be 12:10 Eastern. That should be